So 3 plays for today. I locked in the under in Brooklyn, Boston a little bit early. So 227.5. That looks like it's 224 now, which is pretty much where I make it. I have it at 223.5 is sort of fair price. Like I said earlier, the Celtics are one of those teams we've already spoken about in homework review, where this offense without Marcus Smart is pretty drastically different to what the market seems to rate them at. Now, they're a lot less efficient, they're a lot slower, there's a lot less possessions, the quality of shot drops off, all of those things in a game against a Brooklyn team who is going to be missing a lot of offensive pieces today as well. TJ Warren being out is pretty big for them given the scoring he gives them, especially off the bench. No Ben Simmons as a creator as well, I think puts a lot more impetus on Kyrie Irving to not just be a shot maker, but a shot creator. And having to do all of those things against a Boston defense, I think is going to leave this team a little bit one-dimensional in this matchup in particular. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both these teams sort of struggle in the way that they did last time they played, where it was almost like first to 100 wins. Maybe, a few more points here and there either side, but ultimately I think that's kind of the style of game we get. A lot of half-court basketball, Boston really slowing things down, playing half-court sets, knowing full well that their defense is capable of stopping Brooklyn and trying to run in transition. The Nets going to make an impetus to really get back in transition and not allow those easy opportunities, knowing that Boston's offense can get a little bit stagnant in those half-court sets. So everything for me sets up really nicely. Like I said, I had a pretty decent market edge. We got ahead of the market there. I like the matchup perspective, and I like the projection in terms of pace, which is a big one for me when it comes to playing on totals. So hopefully this isn't another one that just goes in the CLV trophy case and doesn't actually deliver for us. I'd like to think we'll be catching that ticket. Like I said, we got in 227.5, 226.5 for a lot of guys as well, which is fine. The market currently 224. Wouldn't be surprised to see it drop just that half point more and close at where I have it, which, like I said, is 223.5 in between those two numbers. Running it back on the Orlando Philadelphia unders as well. Grabbed in under 231, a little bit of value there. Now 230.5, completely fine playing the unders there. I make it exactly what I made it last time, which is closer to sort of 224. I still think that both these teams have defenses that can bother the opposing offenses enough and slow them down enough. We saw Orlando manage to do that in a really good way. Their physicality sort of really made Philadelphia uncomfortable. And if you just listen back to Doc Rivers' post-game press conference as well, he spoke about exactly that, saying that Philly was simply out-muscled for the most part. The Magic were more physical, and that's ultimately what dictated the game. He challenged his team to basically match that physicality this game. And he also said that the second chance opportunities and points off turnovers are what killed them. And they need to clean that up, which I completely agree with. If they do clean that up, then the Magic will go back to what we saw in that first quarter of the game a couple of days ago, where Orlando just couldn't generate anything in half-court sets, really struggled against Philadelphia's zone defense as well. I think that's going to be the case again. That zone, especially when they have Matisse Thybulle on the floor, being able to sort of really harry on the perimeter, and then having Joel Embiid just operate as a free roamer around the basket makes them very hard to break down in those situations. So I can see Orlando's offense really sort of struggling today and coming undone, especially if Philly does clean up, like I said, those second chance opportunities and those points off turnovers. Then, this could be a game where the scoreline is very much flipped, and it's the Magic who struggle to crack 110 in this one, which I think will put us in a pretty good position for this full game total. So again, a little bit of market value there, not too much. I think there's still plenty of market value available at 230.5. I make this one, like I said, sort of around that 224 mark, and I think that there's good reason to believe it stays under there as well. The last one that I've added for this morning didn't have a number on this last night, and the market steamed in the opposite direction, so it's given us more value here, which is fantastic. Portland at Memphis under 239. Another one where we tackled in the homework review, and Memphis's offensive struggles without Steven Adams. They've also been without Desmond Bane, which obviously just really highlights how limited they can be on offense there. He's questionable tonight. Obviously, if he's out, that's a pretty big boost for us. But even if he's in, the same problems exist for Memphis for me in the half court. And as bad as Portland's defense has been, they travel their defense, sorry, travels better for whatever reason on the road. And I think if you look at all of their games on the road, especially against West Coast teams, they really make a point of slowing the game down. Their number of possessions per game on the road drastically lower than what it is at home this season. Their pace of play lower than what it is at home this season. And I think that's exactly going to be the point of emphasis from Chauncey Billups again tonight, is just don't let Memphis run. A lot of teams obviously trying to make point of that. Trying to stop that is another thing in its entirety. But if they can, limit the opportunities that Memphis has to run in transition, to run off of turnovers as well in particular, and live ball rebounds, then we are going to get into a situation where this number is going to be super inflated and we get a really good look. So even if both teams shoot efficiently, we should be good here. I come out at 229, so way below this number here. I know for the only reason I haven't made this a bigger play is I know I might still be overcompensating for the whole Adams situation, especially if Desmond Bain does come back, then that number obviously jumps up a little bit too, and the edge isn't quite so pronounced, but at the same time, it's still pretty notable versus what it's currently sitting at. So under 239 for me in Portland, Memphis, the other bet. Let's try sweep this board, go 3-0 on these totals, and the unders certainly have been hitting this last week and a little bit now, as these totals in the marketplace have seemingly ballooned, and the general pace of play has also seemingly dropped off around the league as we sort of edge closer to that All-Star break, which isn't surprising either. That's sort of a common theme we've seen in years gone by. So that's the bets we've made for today.